Happy Monday. Yes, we are in the place. What's up? What's up? As Martin said, what's up? Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to the Monday Mindset Movement. I'm your man, Robert Kennedy III. RK3, that's me. It is the Monday Mindset Movement, 15 to 30 minutes of motivation, elevation, and inspiration designed to get you thinking, blinking, rocking, rolling through your week. I am so glad that you are in the space. I am so glad that you are in the place. Yeah, it's time. It's time to do this thing. Yes. Monday Mindset Movement. Do me a favor. If you want to know when we're going live, text LIVE to 240-557-8679. That's live, LIVE to 240-557-8679. What's up, Udine? How you doing? Glad you made it this morning. Oh, yeah. Danny, Don Kirk Lewis, so glad that you made it this morning. S. Dodsey, so glad that you're here. Jonathan Jones, RDH, so glad that y'all are here. Judith, so glad you're here. Jessica, so glad you're here. Nathalie Gregg, my people, so glad that you are here this morning. Listen, what are we talking about today? Well, here's the deal. I believe that fear and faith want us to do the same thing. They're not that different. We're going to talk about it. But before we talk about it, do me a favor. If you have not yet signed up for the Amplify Voice and Video Summit, head on over to amplifyvoiceandvideosummit.com. We launch on April 23rd and 24th. That's this week. Let's go. Amplifyvoiceandvideosummit.com. And with that, people, let's jump on into the show. Let's do it. Yes. TL Speaks, how you doing this morning? So glad that you're in the place. Nathalie Gregg on Instagram, Lead Loudly. Yes, that's right, my friend. TL Speaks on YouTube. Good to see you this morning. Hey, y'all, listen, let's jump on into the show. As I mentioned at the beginning, fear and faith is what we're talking about today. Where's what we're talking about? And I'll mention it again. Speaking of fear and faith, if you have not yet signed up for the Amplify Voice and Video Summit, make sure you do that. Head on over to amplifyvoiceandvideosummit.com. We get started this week. So let's jump on in. Let me talk about Will Smith. Let me talk about Will Smith. Yes, some people are kind of like, oh boy, here we go. He's about to jump in it. Well, no, I'm not going to jump in it. I'm just going to talk a little bit about Will Smith. Will Smith shared a story some years ago about booking a trip to skydive. And after he booked this trip to skydive, he had the date coming up. The date was coming closer and closer and closer. And the night before he skydived, or skydove, whatever it is, the night before he did that, fear kept him up. Something kept him up. That night before, his mind made up 100 ways this skydiving trip could go wrong. Any of y'all ever done that? You did something, you set something up, you scheduled something, and then before you did it, your mind starts to just go crazy and you start to think about all the different things that could go wrong. Type me in the chat or in the comments if you've ever done that. I know I have. Right? So Will Smith is in his house and he's thinking about, oh my gosh, all of the different ways. I won't even navigate all of them, right? But okay, what if the plane runs out of gas? Okay, what if the pilot is not in his 100% right mind? What if we get into an accident on the way? What if we jump and the parachute doesn't open? What if he's asking himself all of these what if questions? But then here's what he says in the story. He's in the plane, and the moment that he jumped, something crazy happened. The moment that he jumped, instead of feeling fear, he felt freedom. Why? Why is that? Well, the scariest part for him, the scariest part for Will Smith, the scariest part for us is not the jump, it's the waiting. It's the worrying. It's the what ifs. Because here's what happens. Fear lives in the anticipation and not the experience. I remember my first time going on a diving board. I don't know if you all remember your first time at the pool, the first time you decided that you were gonna go on a diving board. Oh my gosh, let me shout out some people here really quickly. Kondwani, let's see if I can get this name. Okay, Kondwani Nirongo. Okay, you tell me if I got it. All right, from watching from Malawi. Glad you're here, my friend. All right. So I remember my first time going on the diving board, and I remember when I got up to the top of the diving board and I walked out to the edge of the diving board, I remember feeling, once I looked down, that the diving board was much higher. Hold on one second here. I remember feeling like the diving board was much higher when I was on it than it looked from the ground. And in my mind, because this diving board was much higher, clearly the water was now much deeper. And so now the potential for danger was much greater. And so as I'm thinking about all of my what ifs, as I'm creating all of these different stories in my brain, for a little while, I was at the edge of the diving board and I was stuck. My body was paralyzed. I couldn't move because fear is imagination that paralyzes. I'll say that one more time. I was stuck because fear is imagination that paralyzes. So I'm at the top of the diving board. I'm at the edge of the board and I'm looking down, and this water looks so far down. But here's what happens, and here's what happens with our peer pressure sometimes, right? I turned around and I looked, and there was this line of people behind me. And at the time, I was probably about 10 years old, but in your 10-year-old mind, you're bigger than everybody else. You're still big, and so you look at the 4-year-olds like, they're these little kids. I'm 10. I'm 6 years older. They're 4. But there were some 4-year-olds on the diving board behind me or on the ladder waiting for me to jump off. And so I said, you know what? Let me decide that I'm going to jump off. I'm going to just grab my courage and jump off. And I jumped. I hit the water, took in some water, but started to do my thing. And within a few seconds, I was over at the side of the pool and I was safe. See, here's the thing. A lot of the time, we create stories in our brains, right? We create stories in our brains. Something's in front of us. Something's important. Something important is in front of us. And maybe it's not something that we can see just yet. It may be a mountain that's in the distance that we want to conquer. And what we do is we create stories. Now, here's the thing, and here's what I want you to see. Faith and fear are not that different. Faith and fear both ask you to believe something that you can't see. Faith and fear both ask you to trust in something that hasn't happened yet. I want you to get this. So if you think about your life and you think about all the things or all the ideas that you've had, all of the dreams that you've had, in every case, you've had faith or fear about that thing, right? Because both of them ask you to believe in something that you can't see. Both of them ask you to believe in something that hasn't happened yet. Here's the challenge for a lot of us. We assume that faith means that it's going to be easy. We assume that faith means that something supernatural is going to happen that causes it to be a miraculously soft landing. But the truth is, faith doesn't mean you're not scared, right? Fear doesn't mean you're not scared, and neither does faith. And the truth is, faith doesn't guarantee a soft landing, but it does guarantee a stronger you. And most people don't access the faith that they need for success because they're scared of the pain that they might experience along the way. Most people lean into the fear because the fear justifies the pain. But they don't access the faith that they need for success because they're scared of the pain that they're going to experience along the way. And here's the thing, in life, all of us experience pain. None of us goes through life without pain. None of us. Whether it's that you decided that you were going to ride a bicycle or you learn how to ride a bike and you fall off at your skinny knee, none of us goes through life without pain. The question that you need to answer in all of this is, am I going to turn this pain into scars or will I turn it into stairs? Will I let the pain eat me up or will I use it as an object to go higher? I was on a live stream yesterday where I talked about how many people look back and they say, if only I had moved at that moment. Right? They say, if only I had invested in Amazon when it first came out. If only I had invested in Bitcoin when it was $1.50, right? If only I had invested in Apple. If only that degree. If only that relationship. If only, and we don't move because, and we look back and we say, if only. We don't move because most people wait for proof. They want to know that this thing is secure and sure and it's going to work out. Right? I didn't buy Bitcoin because I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't invest in Apple because I didn't know. I didn't invest in that relationship because I didn't know. I didn't commit to that relationship or that degree because I didn't know. We don't move in the moment because most people want proof. But momentum is born in movement. And you see, we want proof because in our brains, most of the time, we make up stories of failure. But what if we made up stories of winning instead? What if we made up stories where we were the victor? What if we made up stories where we were the champion? What if we made up stories where we were raising our arms at the top of the steps like Rocky and saying, yeah, right? What if we made up stories where we came out on top? We don't make up these stories because we fear the pain, but since the pain is inevitable, what if I made up the story of winning? Because fear and faith are both our imagination, right? Fear is imagination that repels. Faith is imagination that propels. I'll say that one more time. Fear is imagination that repels. Faith is imagination that propels. Yeah, we're preaching this morning, right? We just came off of the Easter and we're preaching today. So let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk. Listen, you know how we do on this show. I don't want to just talk to you. I want to give you some steps. I want to give you some practical things that you can do, some practical nuggets that you can apply as you move forward. So let's talk about this. How do you transform fear into faith? How do you transform fear into faith? Well, step number one that I want to share with you. Number one, acknowledge your fear out loud. Acknowledge your fear out loud. Because here is what happens. Here's how fear works. Fear thrives in silence. Fear thrives in isolation, but it also thrives when it's around other fear. All right? Fear thrives in silence. Fear thrives or grows in isolation, and it also multiplies when it's around other fears. What does that mean? Well, number one, if you don't say it out loud, it grows or it creates the stories in your brain. If you're around other people who are fearful all the time, then it's going to multiply. But when you acknowledge it out loud, if all of you acknowledge it out loud, it loses power when you name it. Fear loses power when you name it, when you call it, when you say, listen, I have a test tomorrow. And right now I'm afraid that I haven't studied enough. I feel like I haven't studied enough to pass this. Right? And you've said it out loud, and you've kind of you've named it, and you said, okay, I'm afraid of this. But now at the same time, you can say, but over the last 3 weeks, I've studied 3 hours a day. I've done this. And you can now begin to lean into what you have done. Because fear loses power when you name it. It's like a bully. When you tell the bully, yeah, you know what? You're bigger than me. Yeah, you know what? You've got more muscles than me, but I'm here. That bully loses power. That bully might hit you and it might hurt, but it loses power. So when you think about your fear, when you think about what you're afraid of, say it. Don't just think about it and let it eat you up inside. Say it. Say it out loud. Name it. Acknowledge it. Okay? That's step number one. Step number two, start with the smallest step. Start with the smallest step. If there's a big mountain that you have to climb, even a micro step forward is a step. So if you've got something big that you're trying to overcome, I want you to think about, okay, what is the smallest thing? What is the smallest step that I can take to move forward? What is the smallest step that I can take to move forward? If I jump on my bicycle, I like to go riding sometimes. If I jump on my bicycle and I just put my feet on the ground and I don't do anything, then the bicycle stays there. But if I put my foot on the pedal, I'm just a little bit closer to creating movement. If I push my foot forward even a quarter of a turn, my bicycle begins to move forward, and I'm not in the same space that I was just a second ago. So even a small step that propels you forward is a step worth taking. So find the smallest step that you can take to help you move forward. All right, so that's number two. Number three action is borrow belief. Borrow belief. Borrow belief. Sometimes you are in the space where you don't believe in the outcome yet. But you can borrow belief from others who have done it. You can say, okay, yep, I know Dr. Will's in the comments. Hey, I know that Dr. Will was able to do this, and I see that he's okay. So it's possible. Or you can borrow belief from your past wins. Okay, yeah, I'm not where I want to be right now, but I've won before. I've passed a test before. I've ridden a bicycle before. I've won a race before. I've done difficult things before. So I can borrow belief in my ability to overcome. I can borrow belief from the past to help me as I'm moving forward in this particular moment. Right? So I'll say those three things again. How do you transform fear to faith? Number one, acknowledge the fear out loud. Number two, start with the smallest step. Number three, borrow belief. Let me jump into some of these comments here for just a second. Kondwani saying, fear is an imagination that distracts and separates you from your destination. I love it. Excellent. I love it. All right. Tyran Jackson says, fear loses power when you name it. I love it. Dr. Will says, good stuff. I love it. Thank you, Dr. Will. Appreciate you being here, my friend. All right. Natalie Gregg is just like live tweeting away and sharing all the good stuff. Fear is imagination that repels. Faith is imagination that propels. Yes, let's go. Come on. I like it. I like it. Listen, this morning, I don't know what you got, but I hope you got value from our time together today. If you have found value, just go ahead and put that in the chat for me, right? My goal and why I do this is because it not only gets me into a space of thinking faith for the week. If I can do that and help one other person thinking faith for their week, then my week has already been a success. What is going to make your week successful? What do you fear? And what can you do to transform that fear into faith? Here's the deal. Too many of us are frozen by what if thinking. But what if you were freed instead of frozen by your what if thinking? What if your what if was a what if I succeed? What if your what if was what if I win? What if instead of seeing the pain as a setback, you saw victory no matter what the obstacle? How can you turn your day from a reaction into a creation? I want to encourage you to build something new so that you can break through to bigger. The world needs both of us, you and me, to do this. I read a book several years back by Stephen Pressfield called The War of Art. And in that book, Stephen Pressfield says, are you born a writer? Were you put on earth to be a painter, a scientist, an apostle of peace? In the end, the question can only be answered by action. It can only be answered if you will grab onto the faith and take the step. Martin Luther King Jr. is credited with saying, faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the entire staircase. So you've got these two characters in your brain, fear and faith. You've got these two characters. You've got these two warriors. You've got these two gladiators in your brain, fear and faith. Who are you going to allow to take the lead today? Your fear or your faith? Hey, y'all, listen, that's my time. I want to remind you about the Amplify Voice and Video Summit. Come on, join me on April 23rd and 24th. Myself and 14 other phenomenal speakers and trainers. If you want to grow your business and your sales and you want to become more confident speaking both in person and on camera, you want to build your brand, boost your leads, and skyrocket your sales, join me for the Amplify Voice and Video Influence Summit. Go to amplifyvoiceandvideosummit.com. Oh, yeah. We are here. Monday Mindset Movement. Don't forget to share the show. And then if you are on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Join me next week, Monday, for the Monday Mindset Movement. Until next time, change your thoughts, change your world, change your story. All right, my friends,